Today, on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat, the professionals at Two Rivers hit the water, dialing in the Triton for optimum performance.
You weigh in, size, diameter, weight, thickness, blade thickness, all that when you're trying to pick a prop for whatever boat you're going to put it on.
Rocky Point Boatworks installs brand new power and rigging on the Twin Vee project.
So now we got to get this Yamaha unwrapped and get this little baby Yamaha on the back of that Twin Vee.
George LaBonte joins Jimmy and Jarrett Helms aboard their custom Backcountry Pro guide.
Not only gave them a ticket back onto the lake, it also allowed them to spend quality time together, building exactly the boat they both wanted and getting the job done just right.
And the craftsmen at Stuart and Islamorada Boatworks begin constructing their newly designed skiff.
It looks like it belongs in the family, which is very important to me. I think when you look at one of our boats, it should look like an Islamorada.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as we follow one-off builds to all-out restorations in Stuart, Florida's Dreamboat District, home to some of the best custom boat builders in the world. From modest to over-the-top, industry experts from the district's premier facilities show how it's done. Fiberglass repair, custom paintwork, engine rigging, electronics installations, and more. And boating editor George LaBonte shares the stories of boaters who have already turned their dreams into reality. This is Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
So today we've got Jerry's Mercury 250 Pro XS installed on his Triton bass boat. We're gonna take it down to the locks, put it in some fresh water, do some prop testing on the boat, get the motor dialed in. I'm excited to see what Jerry thinks about it when he sees it.
Prop testing and running boats and stuff like that, that's when we work our kinks out. We try to see what we think's best, and then obviously we adjust from there. The bass post performance I'm into, so it definitely helps wanting to go run a boat.
I wanted to shave for this, but I didn't have enough time.
Oh, look at me, bro.
I would have had time this morning.
I know Dale's just waiting to talk shit about my scrub.
On these runs, what we're looking for is maximum performance and maximum hole shot.
Okay, so what we're looking for today is hole shot. Jerry's real keen and wanting to get a better hole shot out of this boat. Where before, when he was running three-blade, it took a little bit longer. It's a little bit shallower where he's fishing, so we're going to try to take care of that today with this four-blade we're trying. Might be too much. That was a lot better.
That was better.
So we got almost 66 out of that pass. That was a lot better.
Yeah,
I just think,
the whole shot seemed a lot better on that.
Yeah, we were right at 6,000 on that too. Whole shot was definitely better. Helps when you use the trim here and not here.
So what are we gonna, you wanna put a smaller four blade on there? Or
Yeah, probably.
We ran that first four-blade 23. Didn't turn up the amount of RPMs that I was looking at seeing. So if you're not maxing out on your RPMs, you got to go smaller. So we dropped down to a trophy four-blade, a little less pitch, and went and ran that then.
Ooh. Oh my God.
That is not what we're looking for.
Doesn't like this one.
Dude, this thing's jumping around like a bitch.
Yeah, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Be all right.
So basically, that last run with the 21 four-blade, it didn't like it. It just could be the way that the prop's cupped or cut or something like that. It just depends. I mean, obviously the boat ran well once we got through that hop, but it is definitely not a prop for that boat.
I'm gonna just hang on a second, Jerry. So I ran that 23 Rev 4 first. That's a 21 Rev 4. Same thing, just a little bit.
We had the critics on the sideline giving us their direct input for every step of the way. So why is Jerry why is he so insistent on using a 4-blade prop?
Well, because 4 blades give you a better hole shot sometimes. Being that you're going from a V6 to a V8, the power's there, the torque's there, get it up on and get it running. So I think he's just looking at top end speed and hole shot. He wants both. Sometimes you can't have both. Sometimes it's one or the other, but we'll give him the best we can.
So when you go the V8 route, the torque's higher. So obviously I would like to throw a bigger prop at it to see how it reacts. And that's when I decided that we're gonna try our Bravo FS that I brought with us.
All right, so it's a Bravo FS1 27 pitch 4-blade. Hopefully get a little bit more out of this one and a little bit better hole shot. Blades are cupped a little bit different, cut a little bit different, so it makes a big difference when you're out running.
We had a pretty decent hole shot. You know, it's a 4-blade, so it wants to grab anyways and go. We ended up getting in the low 70s out of it. And it did well. I mean, it's just, there's definitely more to that boat, but time will tell.
So during prop testing, you know, we didn't quite see the results that we wanted with the props that we brought with us. So after we get these props in that we want to try in the boat, we're going to meet back up with Jerry and get this thing dialed in just right.
When we come back, the team at Rocky Point Boatworks begins rigging brand new Yamaha power on the Twin Vee project. This segment brought to you by Armstrong. Experience the Armstrong Advantage.
Do you have the Armstrong Advantage? In its most basic form, an Armstrong outboard bracket improves the efficiency of your outboard motor. This equates to a faster time to plane and higher top speeds. The list of advantages continue with improved maneuverability, added space, and a quieter ride. Adding a swim platform accompanied by an Armstrong boarding ladder will certainly add to your day out on the water. Isn't it time for you to gain the Armstrong Advantage?
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as Rocky Point Boatworks rigs Yamaha power on the Twin Vee project.
All right, so we got this 19-foot Twin Vee all stripped out. We got the windshield knocked out. It looks fantastic. I love it. We're able to get the paint rolled on and super happy. It looks like I sprayed it. So now we're ready to load up, go head up, and we're gonna go pick up our brand new Yamaha F-115. We're getting our motor from Lindsay Marine. It's a Yamaha dealer just up the road, maybe 5 minutes from here to the shop. They loaded it up from the warehouse, got it in the truck. It was like super quick, super easy. So now we gotta get this Yamaha unwrapped and get this little baby Yamaha on the back of that Twin Vee. It's like Christmas. People constantly call me up and they're like, hey Dave, we gotta hang a motor. And I'm like, do you want me to bring these lifting tools? And 3 hours later, sorry, it gets so big. So I really like using the chain hoist because back in my day, I used to do a lot of bodybuilding and weight training, and it just kind of reminds me of my training days. So I like the little workout it gives. So we're putting this F-115 on there, and I don't expect anything but the best out of it. The owner's gonna be happy with throttle response, fuel mileage, overall noise, you know, when they're out cruising with their family, wanna have a good conversation, etc. You know, overall, I just think, you know, it was a great decision on the owner's part to go Yamaha. All right, so now that we got this F-115 Yamaha mounted, we're gonna go ahead and get our steering system on there. When you're mounting your motor, you really gotta pay attention to your splash well dimensions, because if your motor sits too low in there and there's not enough ample room to mount these ears and all the rods and everything in there, you may have to do it prior to mounting the motor. So make sure you pay attention to what you're doing. Otherwise, your weekend plans can be ruined. All right, so after we're at our instructions, we're gonna install our pivot point on top of the pivot arm on the motor. We went ahead and did that, applied the grease where we needed, got it all mounted, and we went ahead and torqued everything down afterwards according to what the instructions said, and moved on from there. The kit does come with lines, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use a little bit bigger tube. Gives us a little more volume. Kind of makes this act like the big boy, the Sea Star, the bigger version here. So it'll give us a little more improved steering, a little easier. We got our line chosen, and we're gonna go ahead and pull it from the motor up to our helm, which is in the center console, obviously. We're using a different hose, and in that, we're gonna use an OSB fitting. It's a reusable end. You can get that from West Marine. And when you're going to install them, you gotta be real careful. You don't crimp the line too tight, and that's why I use the plastic, because I don't wanna put any sharp edges into the line that would cause a leak, and it's counterclockwise to tighten. Pay attention to that. Once that's done, and you put the other piece back in there, it's a clockwise motion. So once you get your ends on your lines, you want to go ahead and hook them up to your steering ram. And then at that point, you want to swing the motor back from port to starboard and check the flow of the lines, because these things are going to move all the time. You don't want them to bind. So we're all good on the back end of the boat. We're going to move up to the helm. So we got our lines. We're going to go ahead and trim them, put our reusable ends on there. We're going to go ahead and install the helm unit itself, get our lines hooked up, and we're going ahead and we're ready to go ahead and bleed the system. Sea-Star provides you with everything you need to do to bleed the system yourself at home. However, I have a Power Purge Junior system here at the shop because we do a lot of installs, so it makes it a lot easier for me. Once all your fittings and everything are loose, you know, the machine's on, it's pumping fluid, you really got to pay attention to how much air bubbles are coming through, and you got to rotate the motor port, the starboard, and get all those air bubbles out of that, especially a new system. So pay attention what's coming out of your hose. If it's solid fluid, you're golden. If it's got some air bubbles, keep working until you have no more air bubbles. After everything's all installed, bled, etc., we went ahead and swung the motor. Everything is working A-OK.
When we return, George LaBonte joins Dreamboat owners Jimmy and Jarrett Helms aboard their Backcountry Pro guide in this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment. This segment brought to you by Fiberglass Coatings, the largest selection of fiberglass materials in the United States.
FGCI is a leading supplier of composite materials, family-owned for over 60 years and headquartered right here in Florida. We have the materials and technical expertise to service manufacturers, repair professionals, and DIYers alike. Our gel coat color matching is a favorite of seasoned professionals and weekend warriors. Access our online store at fgci.com, call to speak with a product specialist, or visit our stores in Fort Lauderdale or St. Petersburg. FGCI is your partner on boat projects big and small.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us for this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment with Florida Sportsman boating editor George LaBonte as we feature anglers who have already launched their dream. Florida Sportsman began these features 30 years ago, and the dreams just keep getting better.
Today we're off to Okeechobee, Florida for a spin around the Big Lake and a look at a father and son project that was originally intended to be completed by somebody entirely different than our guest today. Jimmy and Jarrett Helms each have a love of bass fishing and going fast on boats in common. Jimmy found himself between boats and restless to get back on the water, while Jarrett had a friend with a backcountry project that he just couldn't get off the ground.
My son bought a 202 backcountry a couple years ago. I kind of like the design of it, the way it runs good. Come across one of his buddies on the West Coast, Logan. He was going to restore it himself, and he couldn't find a glass guy to do it soon enough, so he ended up giving us the deal. I'm like, okay, I said, this is going to be us here. So it was like a backyard project.
This old Backcountry Pro guide looked like a perfect fit for the Helms boys, so before you knew it, they were off to the races.
We decided to remove the deck cap to inspect the stringers when we found other damage that needed to be addressed. Once we got it all apart, we built a second set of stringers and better bulkheads out of more modern materials to make the boat last a lifetime.
It was time for colors. I was thinking about plum purple and white, and my son's like, Dad, that's kind of bright, you know, you're gonna have a special boat. And then Jarrett's like, you know, Dad, tan and white would probably look pretty good. Well, Home Depot's across the street. They got a lot of colors. So I went over there and got a stack of tans and a stack of whites and started playing with the colors. And it came out really good.
I'm glad we went with tan instead of purple. You know, with the Matterhorn white on the boat, it's a nice color combination.
The top quality work on this project wouldn't be limited to glass work. The fact that Jarrett rigs and wires boats professionally would obviously come into play when it came time to dive into the electrical system.
So once the structural work was done, I built custom wiring harnesses for the boat, so it made wiring much easier, much neater, and also accessibility for bilge pumps and live well pumps and things like that. So if you need to change one, it's kind of a easy plug and play deal. With being in the business, we have access to some of the best products such as Pacer wire, great tin coated wire, should last a lifetime. Everything is proper fuse connections or breakers, whatever's necessary. It was very satisfying being able to take my time and see this project come together the way I would like it to without having to cut any corners or meet a budget or anything like that.
Now, going fast wasn't the only requirement these boys were looking for at the end of the road. They also wanted a clean-looking exterior without any unnecessary clutter on deck. Only the necessary tools to accomplish the job were added to the finished product.
The trolling motor on the boat's a 24-volt trolling motor. We went with some lightweight AGM batteries, did a mild sound system that sounds loud and clear. Kind of simple 9-inch touchscreen GPS fish finder. We kept it pretty simple.
Jimmy has a long history of bass fishing, and more specifically bass tournament fishing. Because of this, it was important to him to have all the speed he was used to, and this BC boat was going to have to be quick.
As far as the motor is concerned, it's original. It's a 98 200 Pro V. The boat will run 65 miles an hour and runs well.
When you take off in the mornings during a tournament, if you're not first, you're last. And you know, this thing here was just 3 of us in there, and it was just stable, and you can just scream.
In a kind of non-typical style, when it came down to the timing of this project, the roles you might expect out of a father and son collaboration were reversed.
We had a great time with the project. It was a little bit of a battle because he's in a hurry, and I'm a slow and steady and do it right kind of guy. So we battled there a little bit, but we ended up finishing it and doing it right, you know, in a pretty timely matter, 9 months, start to finish.
He's the best son of anybody could ever ask for, and like he said, I want it done now, and it shouldn't be done now that quick, but I've been that way my whole life, and sometimes you just gotta slow down. And he kept telling me, Dad, slow down.
The end result was by all means worth the wait. Bringing this shallow saltwater and big lake rig back to beautiful condition not only gave them a ticket back onto the lake, it also allowed them to spend quality time together, building exactly the boat they both wanted and getting the job done just right.
After an initial investment of $7,000 and spending $12,000 on repairs and custom modifications, the cost of the Helms Dreamboat comes to a total of $19,000. When we return, Stuart and Islamorada Boatworks make progress on their all-new shallow water skiff. This segment brought to you by Suzuki Marine, the ultimate outboard motor.
Go to SuzukiMarine.com to find a dealer near you.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as Stuart and Islamorada Boatworks continue work on their 18-foot skiff project. With the mold sprayed and ready, a hull is born and the build begins.
Yeah, when it came out of the mold, it was like, oh my God, you know, you look at it on paper and it looks kind of cool, you know, you can figure it out, but when you see it pop out of the mold, it's all shiny. It looks like it belongs in the family, which is very important to me. You know, I think when you look at one of our boats, it should look like an Islamorada, and it had that look. It had the sculpted sides, had the chine going low in the water. The carbon and negro on there is really an amazing material. It's really strong and light, but it's got a little flexibility in it, a little dampening effect of it almost. We've got the hull, which is super light, but it'll absorb, it's impact resistant. It should be just dynamite.
With the hull complete, we already had designed a deck cap, and it was ready. We had the mold for that, so that just, you know, facilitated really moving on. That's the easiest part of the 3 segments of the boat, and so it's absolutely coming together quickly.
Well, when we did the console, to me that's a huge part of the boat because you actually that's what you hold on to. That's the focus point of the boat. It came out really nice. We used an actuator on the instrument, so it tilts everything up. It's just really trick. But when it came to fitting it for the first time, you know, you can draw all these pretty pictures you want. But you got to position it just right. So I want to make sure I got it done myself. My guys are all watching me, see if the old man can still do it. And we got it done. It came out really nice. So we've got it close to the hinge. We got a little gap so it comes up nice and strong, pulls down tight, and it doesn't shake top or bottom. All your stuff is hidden. Your stuff's out of the weather. It closes up. It's tight. It's dry. It's got a hidden switch inside the console. Keeps the console kind of low, not real tall, and big bulky console. So it looks real good, but it really is very functional.
So naturally, we had the deck cap on, dry fit, and that's cool. You put it on and you can envision it, and it's very exciting. When the day came that we finally were squeezed into methacrylate, the bonding agent that is going to make that permanently on the hull. It's a whole different feeling. Like, here we go. This deck's going on here, and it's never coming off. Those parts are not coming apart. So now that the deck's on, the console's in, what do we do motor-wise? Yamaha Show 115 VMAX is the motor that I chose. Now, the rating on the boat's from 60 horse to 150. We firmly believe that most of the boats are going to get a 115. We knew that weight-wise, that was the perfect balance for that boat, and it really, there was no question in my mind that that's the motor I was going to go with.
Well, when we started putting the boat together, when we hung that Yamaha on, once the Yamaha was on, I'm like, we got us a boat here. If Bobby didn't want to run the boat, we wanted to get it together. I'm like, I'm pulling rank on this one. There's no trim tabs on the boat. We had plugs plugging the holes. But we put it in the water and it ran awesome.
As soon as the boat came off the trailer, I was immediately aware of how stable it was. I walked around the gunnels. I picked up Richie. He jumped on board. He walked around the gunnels. It's remarkably stable.
It just leaped out. Leaped on plane. Really ran well. A couple of the things I want to tweak a little bit, just some small minor things. I think we can make it a little bit better. We'll put the trim tabs on the bottom and be more of a true running, because we have the pockets, so we're taking away the bottom on that. But it ran great, like a little rocket ship. Great power out of that Yamaha.
We experienced great success, things that put a huge smile on our face, but at the end of the day, we still have to come back and make it a complete boat. The tabs have to get in. We have to get it exactly balanced. It's good to have hatches on the boat. So, polling platform, forward casting platform, all the ideas that are going to make it the boat that we're going to take to market. And so that's what we're in the process of doing.
Next week on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat, George LaBonte joins Royce Brooker aboard his completely rebuilt John Ullman. The professionals at TRB make headway on the CV390Z project, and the Twin Vee is rigged with a brand new trolling motor at Rocky Point Boatworks.